First up tonight, we have Damian Maclennan from Work 180, and he's going to tell us about why we are all doomed.
Thank you very much. So thanks everyone for coming, and thanks to Chris and Lorraine for hosting this event. It's been lots of fun. I get to talk with some of my favourite people in Brisbane. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a really educational, fun night, plus my talk. So, I'm currently the CTO of Work 180, CTO and Chief Yak Shaver, essentially, which isn't really enterprisey, or even particularly DevOpsy some days. So I'm basically here to rant. You might have guys guessed that from the title, or you may have guessed from the fact that it's got my name on it. There's going to be a little bit of ranting. And I was going to say something else about that. I can't remember what now. I'm completely blank. But I do have some experience in DevOps. So I used to work for a little company called Octopus Deploy. So I have some experience in the DevOps space. I also have some experience in the enterprise space. I did a lot of consulting for a lot of years. And I'm a former engineering manager in the lotteries department for Tuts Group. Sure. So this is the ex-lotteries engineering manager rehab. So I do know a little bit about the enterprise and also a little bit about Doom. That just shows the age of this room. I'm just going to rewrite my talk. A little bit about Doom. I'm also a little bit old and have seen a lot of things and been around for a little while, as I was just terribly reminded yesterday, thanks Jamie. So I've learned a few things about our industry. One of the things I've learned about our industry is we are very hype-driven, very, very hype-driven. And ideas come and go, and the hype machine builds up, so an idea comes along and all of a sudden everyone wants to jump on that bandwagon. And you can set up meetups, and there are conferences. You can build consulting practices around it. You can, get a book deal. So we all get on board of this bandwagon, and it's good for individuals. You can build your profile off one of these fads. So you get a lot of people that will pick something and sort of build their profile and speaking career and blogging and whatever else. And we tend to jump hype things fairly quickly. But tonight the hype thing that we're talking about is DevOps. So when most people talk about DevOps, and this is the great thing about the first speaker, you get to frame the argument and just make everyone else have to rewrite their talks. So when most people talk about DevOps, they're just talking about deployment automation. Microsoft have this whole campaign, use VSTS, and you can run some DevOps on it. And they just talk about deployment automation. And deployment automation is cool. It's a fine thing. But it's not new. So again, showing my age, I think I started doing deployment automation in about 2003. And it started out by doing CI, which was actually fairly controversial in 2003. Because in 2003, in a bigger company, you would have a build team. So the developers would write code. And then every 2 to 4 weeks, the build team would take a branch of that code and try to get the thing to compile on the build machine. And then they would, lovingly handcraft it, put it in the test environment for the testers to raise 70,000 bugs that would never get fixed. And so CI came along as we could just compile this all on one machine and automate that. And CI was fairly revolutionary, really, and it was pioneered by people in the hallowed halls of ThoughtWorks offices around the world, people like Dan North and Jim Weber, and they came along and did this. And I looked at that at the time where this makes a lot of sense to me. Automating the builds, that's a good thing. And then I went, well, given that I've got my build server and it's creating a package, it makes only a certain amount of sense that I could take that package and put it onto a server, and I can unpack that package and put some variables into it, and started doing that, and even to the extent of automating database migration. So deployment automation in 2002, that was actually a fairly controversial thing to do. I spent a lot of political capital in various companies convincing people that this was the right thing to do. But as we all know, it is a good thing to do, and soon enough people thought, the projects that Damian is involved in tend to go a little bit more smoothly. So I had some wins there. I'm all for deployment automation, but that's not DevOps, and it's not new. But we've all jumped on that, and it's because we can sell it. We can put on a DevOps suit. That was just for you, Lionel. We can put on that DevOps suit, and we can go and sell it, and we can build a DevOps consulting practice, and we can write DevOpsing books, and we can have DevOpsing conferences, and we can sell it. But really, it's not that new, and it's really kind of not that special. The other thing that we can do, of course, is build tools around it. All the current memes. And this is not a sledge on octopus. I love octopus. An octopus, they don't call themselves DevOps. It's a deployment automation tool, and it does that very, very well. But being involved in that company and sort of being involved in the enterprise sales side of that company is like, yes, we're doing DevOps. Will your thing not let our developers see the production environment at all? They're not allowed to know. But it does deployment automation very, very well. So, what am I saying next? So deployment automation is very good, but it's not this brand new revolutionary thing. It was slightly revolutionary and controversial 15 years ago, but today, it's just good engineering. So all of these companies are going, yes, we are now DevOps compliant. Congratulations. You have reached competent. You get a cookie. I'm channeling Andrew here. No cookies for you.
No cookies. I'm going to skip off my slides.
Yeah. Yes, congratulations, you are competent. This isn't a new thing. But it's all very well and good. So then, okay, so I've now managed to reframe what DevOps is and kill everyone's slides. Yay me. These people were my friends. Not anymore. So what is it? So when DevOps first started taking hold as a term, it was about culture. And it's about the culture of collaboration within an organization. So it's about taking your development team and actually getting them to talk to the ops team as a first port of call. Actually talking, because you've got companies, you've got developers that write code, and now they might even get a build, and they might even do some CI, and they might even write some tests if they're really, really lucky. And then at the end of it, they throw a zip file over to the wall for the ops team with a Word document that says, unpack this and change the configuration setting to blah. And over there you've got a server engineer going, what's a web.config file about? How do you change that? And you've got developers who have no idea about what the state of the production environment or what even it looks like. And then over on the ops team you've got, well, they didn't tell us what server it had to go on, so no release for you. Certain government department. I'm going to have so much fun with you tonight, Ray. Thank you for sitting in the front. This is payback. And meanwhile, you've got the head of the infrastructure team, and this may be a conversation I've had in the last 18 months. Well, why don't the developers give us code that is fit for purpose? As we all know, engineering is a trade-off. It's a series of trade-offs. If you don't know what environment you're engineering for, you don't know what trade-offs to make. You don't know, what that environment reacts like under certain types of load. So, how can you build it? And so we have these very, very dysfunctional organizations. And DevOps is about bringing that together. If you've got your development team sitting with the deployment team and sitting with the operations team, you will know exactly what it looks like when your code gets a load that you didn't expect, because your phone will ring too. You'll be there looking at the graphs and having to fix it. You will end up writing code that is instrumented so that you can debug it in production, not on your development environment. You'll understand what the latency of your network looks like, not your development machine. So you're going to write better code. Meanwhile, you've got an operations team who are going to understand, well, why? What were the assumptions that were put into that code that you wrote? And and of course you can take then the development experience to bring in those scripting and bring in that programming experience to actually automate the deployments. So deployment automation is a good thing. So that's what it's about. And it's essentially, it's You know, in Agile, we talk about a cross-functional team where we might have, you know, a UX designer and developers and testers and you know, subject matter experts all in the one group. And DevOps is kind of expanding that so that we've got the operational side as well. So essentially what it is an implementation of lean software principles. You know, which is a lot like Agile. A little bit quieter though, mainly because it's really hard to sell a certification on it. So you know, with an Agile, you know, you are Scrum certified, or you are Scaled Agile Framework Ninja, or whatever they call. You know, it's very easy to sell that. And you know, of course, everyone's seen this version of Agile, where the organisation doesn't change, but all the developers standing in the morning like robots, going, you know, reporting to the project manager with a big stick. Yes, today I worked on the feature.
No
Today I'm working on the feature. No impediments. Don't beat me. Yeah. And nothing changes. We just stand up every day. So, you know, kind of what we're doing to Agile by just standing up and putting post-it notes on the wall is what we're doing to DevOps by just making it about deployment automation. So, why don't we want Agile? It's because, like Chuck D said, if you don't change, you will die. So, we want to be agile, you know, and it's not about standing up in the morning, it's about being resilient to change, because the world does change, and it's changing faster and faster and faster. And you know, I probably don't need to convince everybody here that stuff gets disrupted and things get changed, and organisations that don't change are getting beaten by the ones that do. And so the ones that can change fastest are the ones that win. And the ones that don't, you know, you might say, we don't need to change that quickly. We have government regulations that protect us. Well, guess what? There's another bigger organisation that might take you over, and then all the good people leave, and all the bad ones are unemployable. Or it might be a government department even. Look at education.
It's me.
You know, education in the US at a university level is getting massively disrupted. You've got people going to $300,000 debt to get a degree that they can't use to get a job at McDonald's. And that's starting to get disrupted by, you know, places like Lambda School and Udemy, and you know, you can go and get an education a hell of a lot cheaper. We're starting to see in schools here, we're starting to see lots of sort of e-learning startups, you know, getting in there, and teachers are going, well, I don't need to teach that, I'll just give you, you know, Spell City or whatever it is. In the next 5 or 10 years, the education sector is going to be massively different because of companies that have learned how to iterate really, really quickly. So you can sit there with as many volumes of ITIL service management framework as you like. They're not going to save you. So, lean software development principles. We've now agreed that we need to be agile. What are they? So eliminate waste. Certainly, automating your deployments is a great way to eliminate waste. There's not a lot of things more wasteful in a software organisation than writing a Word document that's wrong, giving it to somebody who doesn't understand it, having them take your scripts and run it in the wrong environment. That's pretty wasteful. The thing that's more wasteful than that is the business who gives the requirements to a BA who then maps out an 18-month program of work, which is then given to the team, and everybody sits in management meetings wondering why the team isn't shipping fast enough. That's pretty wasteful, particularly when the customers don't want it. So we need to be able to iterate quickly. So we need to bring in these principles. We need to, you know, build small things, and we need to be able to ship them quickly. To ship them quickly, we need to be able to automate that deployment, because otherwise we'd have the Word document problem every day of the week.
SSW has a rule for that.
Sorry? Of course SSW have a rule for that. It's probably still TFS, right? Word documents there.
It's VSTS, and check one of them.
So we want to build small things. We want to be able to iterate. We want to be able to say, here is a hypothesis. How do we test this? How do we get this in production? How do we get it in there safely? You know, we need to build the quality in. We need to build tests in, because we also don't want to have, hey, look, we've got a 3-month manual testing cycle. Can we get 30 test automation resources in here to automate that? We don't want to do that. So you need to see that end picture, and this is where DevOps comes in. You've got developers that understand why they're building stuff, how they're going to know it's going to work, how it's going to react, how to change it quickly if it doesn't react the way they think. You need operations people who understand why they're doing it. It's not just, oh, what do you want to do that for? That's a firewall change. We couldn't possibly do that. No, actually, we want to get this thing in front of our customer. So you need all of these principles to understand the bigger context you live in, and also have that empowerment to make mistakes, to build in that learning culture, both learning about the business that you're in, and what it takes, and to be able to iterate really, really quickly. So it's about building that learning culture and building that collaboration. In summary, if you are in an organisation and you are tasked with the DevOps, and all you care about is the deployment automation, you are pretty much doomed. That organisation will eventually get killed by a meteor or a bigger dinosaur. If as an organisation, that's what you're thinking, the organisation's doomed. If you are in that organisation and you are just worrying about the deployment automation, cool. If you get some skills from it, great. But if you think that you can just, install Octopus or write some chef scripts or whatever and be doing DevOps and be A-OK, you are also doomed. So by all means, try to get some stuff done, but just be mindful of that. And if you realise that you are doomed, get out. There are plenty of organisations that would love to have some good people that like to change stuff. So by all means, save yourself, don't be doomed. With that, thank you very much. I need to get two plugged in.
You forgot the PS I'm hiring.
Sorry? I'm not today. Any cyclists in the room? Any road cyclists? Yeah, a few of that. Any that I don't know. Yeah, a couple that I don't know. Excellent. Monthly tech industry bunch ride. The next one's tomorrow morning at Espresso Garage at 5:30 in the morning. I'll be there. The other thing, and I have to say this.
Attendance is marked.
Sorry?
Attendance is marked.
It goes on your permanent record. For more quality content like this, I am speaking at NDC Sydney, as well as a couple of other people in here. It's a fantastic conference if you haven't been. It's really good. I promise to talk about more useful stuff than this. Talk about .NET Core and Docker and DevOps. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you, Damian. DevOps doesn't stop at the Get Started page. While we prep the next slides, next up tonight we're going to have Andrew Harcourt. He's from ThoughtWorks, he's a principal consultant. He's spoken to me before and gave us all really good insights about things. Eventually the slides are coming. But tonight he's going to be telling us about a little story about DevOps roles and other various ways that you can fail, which I'm sure will be very enlightening and give us all pleasant dreams after this.
I've lost score.
And we lost the slides. DevOps in practice.
There we go. All right.
Excellent. Please welcome Andrew.
Good evening, everybody. So, I was watching Damian's slides in this kind of half dread because I had a pretty good idea of what he might say. More than that, though, I was really worried that we were going to end up with the same meme generator pictures. I've gone slightly older school in a lot of memes, so hopefully there's not too much of an overlap there. But that said, the content does actually overlap quite a bit. So, with no further ado, I also wanted to define DevOps because as an industry, we suck at this. Making things is hard. But we do. We keep saying, well, DevOps, and, or I need to hire a DevOps. Dear God, kill me now. Why would we do such a thing? Right? There is no such thing as a DevOps. Right? So when we talk about DevOps, what are we talking about? Right. As per the name, automating the sausage factory is not DevOps.
First!
Damn it, this one doesn't have a laser on it. Exactly. But Damian was right. Automation isn't DevOps. It's a useful supporting pillar of DevOps, but it is not DevOps. It's not your logging, monitoring, and instrumentation. Yes, absolutely. If you have developers responsible for production and they're the ones getting woken up in the middle of the night, then yeah, they're going to log a whole lot better. They're going to monitor a whole lot better because they're the ones who have to care about it. But again, it's just a supporting pillar. It's not actually what DevOps is. And likewise, DevOps is not infrastructure as code. I don't care if you know CloudFormation. I don't care if you know Terraform. I don't care if you know Kubernetes. That's not DevOps. This could Be DevOps. And as much as it horrifies me to say this, I've actually seen marginally more productive organizations where we do actually have developers go, well, gee, that was a stupid bug, wasn't it? You know what, I fixed it, my local tests pass, I right-click it, I commit it, and I publish it to production, and it works, and the bug is fixed in 5 minutes. But then we have continuous delivery pipelines, and we have regression test suites that maybe somebody was a little bit over enthusiastic about using something like WebDriver. Sorry. Don't use Selenium, don't use WebDriver, it's bad for you. And then we have a regression suite that runs for, I don't know, like half an hour, 4 hours, something like that. And then we have to promote it to the next environment. And then, of course, well, we can't just have the machines test the thing, so the QAs have to test it anyway. And then what we've done is we've taken a 5-minute bug fix and we've turned it into a week-long release. Now, which one does the customer get a better outcome from? 5 minutes, right? We fixed it. It's broken. It was broken. Now it's fixed. Customer's happy. Versus, well, it's broken, and we know it's fixed in like dev because we have an environment called dev, and that's a long-lived environment because devs not get a cattle, dev is a pet, and so well we know that we've got a fix for it, so that problem's solved, right? And now it's out of my hands, and it's in the QA's hands, or it's in the ops team's hands, or whatever, and it's not in the bloody customer's hands, so the customer doesn't care. Right? So this, even though it's horrifying, is a whole lot closer to potential DevOps than your shiny new CI/CD pipeline with 50 pipeline stages in it. That's not DevOps. Docker is not DevOps. Get it.
Especially on Windows.
Does anybody actually run Docker on Windows? Some? Yeah? Okay.
It's good now.
It's better. It's better. It's getting better.
Yeah. That's what they said about TFS.
Yeah, they said that about every TFS release. Every release, oh yeah, the previous one was shit, we totally know that, but this one's really good. Oh, hey, that previous release was a bit of shit. So moving right along. DevOps is developers being responsible for operations. Wow, who knew? But seriously, we lose sight of this all the time. We miss that point. So when we start to think about what problem we're actually, so like, okay, I want a DevOps, I'll take 3. Can I get 5 for a discount? Right? What problem are we actually solving via DevOps? Well, obviously it's this one, right? Everyone's heard this one before. I do it, like I've got a PM, I've got an IM, I've got a PA, I've got a dev pair, which is really only like 1 dev's worth of throughput plus a bit. So I've got 2 dev pairs and a QA. Oh, and a tech lead. But now everyone else has got a DevOps, so I need one. And then there's this new like SRE thing, and I should probably have a blockchain. Or a machine learning, but they're over there.
And an XD.
An experience designer, yeah, sorry. We've actually hit double digits worth of people before we've gotten to anybody who can code. Right. So clearly, having not enough silos is my problem. Right? I need another silo. Right? Bollocks. That's it. We are not responsive enough to our customers. End of discussion. I'd say mic drop, but I'm not actually going to drop the thing because I'll blow the speakers. But that's it, right? We are not responsive enough to our customers. And our customers are the only things that matter because they're the ones who pay the bills. And if we're not responsive enough, to Damian's point and to Chucky D's point, if we are not responsive enough, someone else will be. We don't get a choice about feedback early and often. We only get a choice about whether we choose to play well in the game. We don't get to choose whether we actually play the game. The game is competitive, someone's going to win. It's probably not going to be us. Okay. We're not responsive enough to our customers, and that's it. Everything else needs to be subservient to that. And you reckon you were showing your age? Uh-huh. Oh my God. Alright, so DevOps, clearing the roadblocks, right? It's about getting the impediments out of the road, right? Where I did yesterday, I did a thing, today I'm going to keep working on the thing, no impediments. Bollocks, you've got no impediments. Unless your code that you wrote 5 minutes ago is in production, you've got an impediment. Grow up.
I'm almost done.
Sorry?
I'm almost done.
You're done what?
I just have to write the test.
You're done what? You just got to write the test. If If you say that, you are the impediment.
Works on my machine.
But if you're running Docker, that works on everybody's machine, right? It's about breaking down the walls. Who's actually old enough to remember this one when it came down? Who's old enough to recognize... Oh, never mind.
Who's old enough to have built it?
DevOps is about removing the silos, not about adding another one. Okay? It should really be called Biz DevOps, because, like, you know, we take some
That's
business.
my title.
I swear to you, I didn't change this before I saw the bottom line control, so if it was too close to the same, I was going to change it. But it really should be good. You wait till the next slide, though. It should really be called Biz DevOps because we like actually have to bring some business awareness to play. Or maybe we should call it that.
That looks like Java.
No factory.
It's got a capital. It's got a capital. Clearly it's Delphi. Or maybe we just be calling it like, just be better at solving the customer's problem. Yeah, I mean, naming stuff's hard, right? Yeah. And DevOps is cool, and yeah, as to Damian's point again, you can sell it. So go ahead, sell the thing. So what do? If we genuinely want to get better at solving the customer's problem, and remember the customers actually don't care if we solve their problem, they care that someone solves their problem. We care about the fact that we are the ones to solve the customer's problem, because then we are the ones that the customers pay money to. They don't care, they have money, they have a problem, they wish to exchange one for the other. If we wish to continue to be party to that transaction, what do we have to do? Well, don't hire DevOps people. Just break the silos down. If you need to hire people with specific skill sets, if you need to hire people who know about infrastructure automation, or about Kubernetes, or about Mesos, I don't know why you would anymore, or about OpenStack, or about Kafka, or what, like, I don't care. If you need to hire people who know about Octopus, that's great too. Hire them for their skill set. If you must call them a DevOps person or a site reliability engineer person in order to get that budget approved, by all means do it. But that's not the role you're hiring for. You are hiring to complement the skills of your team. You are hiring for a cross-functional team. So call them what you have to. I mean, naming things is hard, right? We know this. I don't care what you call it, I care what it does. Get rid of the gates. Now that's human gates and that's other stupid gates as well. Right? So when we talk about processes like ISO, and everybody loves to hang shit on ISO, everybody likes to hang shit on like ISO 9000. Like all it's really is have a process, know what you've got, have a repeatable process so that it's predictable. You can speed that up a lot. You can automate a whole lot of that. You can automate a lot of the quality gates. You really should be writing tests. You should be writing tests first. You shouldn't have humans manually testing your code. We all know this. You've heard me rant about it before. All we want to do is remove as many gates as we possibly can between the thing is built or the thing is fixed and the thing is solving the customer's problem. That having been said, you can't just remove all the gates and let people go stupid. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You need to hold the teams accountable. You need to actually say to them, if you do a stupid thing and it hurts us, it will hurt you. You can't just say to them, well, hey, yesterday you were just responsible for writing code, so go for your life, and today you're just responsible for writing code, except that no one's going to check your homework for you. Newsflash, you now have to check your own homework, you now have to set your own homework, and if you don't do it, you're going to get punished. If we don't punish you, the customers are going to punish us, right? It flows downhill. So hold people accountable. Take away the role distinctions. You are not a DevOps, you are not a QA, you are not just a dev monkey, you are not just a BA, you are a human, you are an engineer, and you solve engineering problems. Okay? With respect to operational responsibilities, that means, yes, the whole team is on call. Every single person who is responsible for putting the product in front of the customer, including your BA, including your product owner, gets the pager. And if the thing falls over at 3 o'clock on Christmas Day morning, then the whole team gets woken up. because you can be pretty confident that's only ever going to happen once. Right. Take away these ones too. It's not just the Debbie and the Opsy distinctions. Oh my god, I can human, apparently. But if that's your only skill, pardon?
5 VAs.
I would...
My one is not yours, right?
Fire this flavour of VA, yes. Fire the people who can only human, but hire engineers who can human. Okay. You want cross-functional engineers who can think, who can teach, that's really important, okay, who can ship, and who can human. There is no value in having to explain over and over and over again to multiple different human silos the problem that the customer has. There is a whole lot more value in just having the person who's going to fix the problem go and understand the problem. So cut out the middle people. Okay. You want the experienced engineers who've seen it all. You want the ones who have the battle scars. You want the ones who will tell you about how they managed to drop the production database and it was really embarrassing, and by the way, we then discovered that the backups didn't work, so there's a hand up in the back of the room. Yeah, that's Jeremy, okay. You want the people who stuffed up before. Right? Those lessons have value. Equally, you want the kids. You want the graduates, because they didn't have the budget for a PM and an IM and a BA and a QA and a whole bunch of other people to get their assignments done. They've recently had to do this all by themselves. Well, guess what? That's DevOps, right? They've been given a problem to solve and they got marked on it. And in a lot of cases, they failed the first time around and had to have another go. And that was a real world lesson. None of this, oh, well, we just have to go back to the business and get more budget. No, we failed, that hurt. I had to repeat that subject. Maybe I won't do that again. Right? You want the graduates who didn't have the luxury of super specializing in disciplines that shouldn't be super specialized in. Hire versatility. You want deep generalists, you want cross-functional teams, and you want teams that can own the product and own the solution. Not another bloody silo.
Excellent, thank you, Andrew. If people want to race up and grab another beer while we set up the next set of slides, that would fill time nicely.
On the gadget, I will just temporarily leave that
Okay, and that's enough time to grab your beer, except for then I'll do
It's the same talk twice.
Okay, excellent. We might pick up the next talk. I promise we'll have a long break after the next one. Because of course kids will be here then and you're all very hungry and desperate for some food. So next up we have Vanessa, who as we've been warned by previous speakers, is a DevOps person and comes to us from the ABS as the Assistant Director of Integration in DevOps. And she's going to tell us about goats and Sherpas, which sound like amazing things to her. Please join me in welcoming Vanessa.
Whenever anybody says I'm from the ABS, I like to point out there are two sides to the ABS. One is business and one is census. I reckon business.
Gardening?
Sorry?
Is this business gardening?
Yeah, should be right. I do have a DevOps role, so it's an excellent talk to follow. I'm really happy about that. But I have a few...
Things is hard, right?
Yeah, we're going downhill. We started really funny. That was really funny. I don't promise funny. So we'll just go through. There are just lots of pictures. But I do consider myself a DevOps seller, a seller of DevOps. I'm talking about that at NDC too. Shameless plug. Just so you know, I will be doing a little preview at DevOps User Group, but I do call myself a DevOps seller. I sell things like culture, I sell things like proof of concepts, tools, selling ideas to people. We'll talk about that. I sell dreams. I was a PHP developer, you know. You can shame me all you want, it's fine. I then did some Linux sysadmining, manually deploying PHP websites. That was fun. And then I supported a DevOps software company that Damian also happened to work at. And now I am an Assistant Director of Integration and DevOps for a very, very, very low maturity government organisation. So when I talk about goats, I'm not talking about Serena Williams, the greatest of all time. I'm talking about goats. I'm talking about a concept that was started by Michael Ducey, and apparently it was a bit of a joke for this podcast. A company asked him to talk about DevOps and said, bet you can't make a talk about DevOps and relate it to goats. And he said, I bet I can. And he did. So now he's known as the goat whisperer, and that's a concept in DevOps. The goats are a concept in DevOps. But what he spoke about was that goats are good. Goats are good on the farm. They do things like fertilizer, milk, meat. They'll mow your lawn. They've got these really good uses, so they're all-round people. And what we want is all-round people when it comes to DevOps. It started to get more expansive in this analogy once it was first done, which is let's talk about what DevOps, what goats actually do and how we can relate that to the kind of people we want doing DevOps in our organisation. So goats are curious. Goats will get into things, they'll jump up on tables, they'll look at flowers, they'll get into things you want. So you want people, you want developers in your organisation who are like goats. You want them to look at new things that are happening, see what's over the fence, go, hey, that looks really interesting, I'm going to go have a look at it. You want developers who are like goats in their curiousness. They're also pretty boundless. They're not going to sit there and say, oh, I just want to do my job. A goat wants to get out there and go, oh, I know there's kind of these walls around me, but I'd really like to jump them and get into the garden and eat the flowers. Is that okay? So they don't really ask for permission. Goats are the kind of people that are like, I know something is wrong here, so I want to install TeamCity, and I want to start doing builds, or I want to install Jenkins. I know that there is something better, and I'm just kind of going to ignore the security team and the ops team, and we've got this really nice machine that I can run Jenkins on. I'm going to prove my point before somebody tells me I can't. So that's another reason, like we want the goat attitude of a developer in our organisation. We want them to get in and start eating things and get into trouble after the point, after they've proved that things can be better. We have a lot of goats in the ABS. People that did say, we can do this better, let's get another tool. I, as a developer, will spend 20% of my time getting the business case, doing all of the security reviews I need to, all of these things in place so we can prove that there's a better world out there. So they're the developers you want. You want the goats in that way. And talking about silos and other things that happen with silos is walls are built. We have developers and they throw that zip file over the wall. goats don't care about walls. They really don't. They're up on the walls. They want to get over there and have a look. They're curious. They just get up there. So they're the type of people who will say, I don't care about walls. I don't care about your walls. I want to talk to the ops person. I want to talk to the DBA. I'm willing to work together and get around these walls that you've put in front of me. They know they're there, but they're willing to jump over them. So goats are good in that way as well. They're also really, really nimble. They're good at thinking on their feet. They're good at just getting in there. They're good at doing things quickly and iterating. So that's another reason. Again, we're taking this goat analogy as far as we can. And they're very, very confident in what they do. If you ever watch videos, like, I didn't really set up videos on memes or anything, but running down a hill, goats are confident in jumping over rocks. They're very confident in what they do, but they're the leaders of the pack, really, in an organisation. So this leads to more of my role as a DevOps person in an organisation where there are a lot of goats. And that is Sherpas. So we're still in sort of the mountain area of this analogy. But this is an interesting phrase, and somebody walked through my organisation. They kind of just walk through and say hey to everybody. And we were talking about my job. And he goes, you know, in Canada they call that being a Sherpa. And so I did a little research, and I couldn't tell you who coined the phrase or when it was used in DevOps. I do know that a lot of companies are using it now, like IBM and Rackspace, saying they have DevOps Sherpas to lead you through your DevOps journey. So I guess we'll be seeing it a lot. It'll be the next blockchain plus Sherpa meetup we might be going to. But apparently it's a very common phrase in Canada. But if we talk more about the history of Sherpas and why I still like this analogy, even though businesses are only using it right now, Sherpas are actually a tribe in the Himalayas. And for them, it's very sacred. And it's very religious. And they've got rituals when it comes to the Himalayan mountains. And so they like to take people trekking and mountaineering through the Himalayas and not only teach them the safe path, but the rituals and the religion and sort of what it actually has meaning behind it. And that's the part of the analogy I liked. It's more than just telling somebody what DevOps to do. And what I've found success in is explaining why I want to make a change and the rituals behind it, the best practices, actually understanding the point of DevOps to say why they shouldn't be rebuilding down the pipeline, why certain things shouldn't happen. It's not about me defining DevOps for the organisation, more saying we probably shouldn't do this and why, and stopping them from making mistakes ahead of time. Using the goats that previously existed, the software they've got in, I started working there after they chose Octopus. I had to sign a disclaimer saying I wouldn't choose the tool. Husband still works there, all that kind of stuff. But it was about me showing them the rituals of DevOps, giving them the education, giving them the ability to fail and to use it. I've used my influence in the business level to get things through security review that nobody else was able to. I was able to do that by talking across the silos, but using the work that the goats had done ahead of me. So what we really want to sort of look at is, in enterprise, we do have these cases of silos, and luckily we have goats, but maybe we need Sherpas as well, just to help define the rituals. Especially in government, I've found they like to hire grads and bounce people around. So they don't learn a lot of new things. They don't learn a lot, they don't go to user groups, they don't really get that outside information. So coming in and educating has been a very big part of what I've been doing, and teaching them the different parts of DevOps, because there's just no want or need. So it's been a very important role for me. Thanks.
Okay, we might jump into the next talk, even though I promised a break. Pizza is still on the way, but certainly will arrive just in time.
Lorenzo, at all.
That wasn't a risk.
She's always hungry.
She's got to prepare for that big ride tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah, so also my time is like on the
Just so the notes are good.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's exactly where you want your time.
I'm just going to count down for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting. And then a mic drop at the end.
All right, so next up we have Shortens. He used to be the DevOps evangelist at Tats Group, trying to bring them to the glorious golden age, and has just yesterday, day before something like that?
Yeah, Monday's my new day in my new life.
Just left Tats and is just starting on more glorious things. So please join me in welcoming Shaw.
All right, thank you. So as Chris just mentioned, I just started something new, so there's a few subtexts here. So currently working at my new business, but formerly engineering manager and other things at Tats. He moved after Damian left.
Agile.
That was weird. So yeah, I guess this is a bit about my background. I've had DevOps in my title twice, and I did it deliberately. And I'm proud of it.
And you were development operations.
Well, yeah, actually, I did have DevOps in my title, but due to clerical errors, it was development operations strategist, which is so not a thing. But it wasn't DevOps in the title, technically. So, yeah, I guess the good thing about going last is I can say that these guys were wrong.
Technically correct is the best kind of correct.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess for me, we did a lot of things at Tats, and so I'm talking here a little bit about my personal journey at Tats in the DevOps space, but also with a team of people, and I guess there are a few notable mentions there. So Sam, Ryan, Neil, Yarko, Carlos, and Matt Tunney, who some of you might know. So the things that we achieved were pretty great, and I guess I'll start with my definition of DevOps. I totally agree with these guys. Like, it's not really a job title, but sometimes you have to sell yourself and give yourself the job title in order to get things done. It's about culture. Pretty much it's about culture. And if I think about the stuff that I've done for the last few years at Tats, it's actually not being at my desk. It's walking around, talking to people, people who talk up on Slack and maybe say things can't be done, or, we can't automate this thing because you can't automate Windows or whatever it is, and you kind of go around and talk to people and convince them. And so this guy on the left here, I don't know if you guys have seen him before, it's Adam Jacob from Chef. I think he's the CTO there. He did a really awesome talk at the Chef, one of the Chef conferences about DevOps Kung Fu, Chef-style DevOps Kung Fu. It's nothing to do with Chef really, it's just about the religion of DevOps. I can include the links to that on the meetup site. It's definitely worth a watch. And I think, yeah, tools help, but they're just part of the way, as Damian said. What else have I got there? So yeah, that's pretty much it. I totally agree. It's not a job title, but sometimes you've got to do it. So, and the background, my job, for some reason, my talk was titled that DevOps, or IAC started with tears. I don't know how that happened, but I thought I'd better lean into it and just give it a go. So, we started at Tats. We had teams, we had awesome silos, and they were strong. I'd been there a few years in a dev team, and I'd moved through, and we'd started to build up build and deployment automation with Team City, just as that underground sort of the goats were building. And so we had build and deploy was pretty good, and then we'd get that going well. We deploy stuff to existing servers, and that was sort of fine. But new server builds were a nightmare, and so from our point of view, we saw this constraint, and it was the infrastructure as code, or infrastructure, the ops teams, and the best case was that the devs were in a different building, so the silos were really good there. I remember being in one team where the these guys had never met the security team, and one day I got one of them to come over for lunch, and they're like, "Oh, you're that guy," and it was kind of cool because after that lunch, one of the devs was like, "Yeah, those security guys are kind of cool," and you know, things started to move forward after that, which was pretty cool. So yeah, we had some build automation with using SCCM, the DevOps tool of choice, which was so not and like it was interesting. And so we had some people who would, with the best of intentions, trying to automate the infrastructure builds for our large test environments of 90 plus machines using SCCM, and you kick it off, and 4 hours or a day later something would happen, it would fall over, and they'd have to start again because it wasn't recoverable.
Publish is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, definitely. So how, I guess what I want to talk about a little bit is how we got started with this. Being that, so I was in a dev team, then I moved into a DevOps role, which was on the org chart, and I'm like, that is the role I need. I'm going to get that role so that I can start evangelizing this stuff. And then we moved into a team where we were partnered up with agile coaches and stuff. So we're kind of out of delivery, which helped a lot with the having the ability to move around, kind of like a Sherpa. Totally getting a Sherpa t-shirt now.
I meant to sledge agile coaches.
You kind of did.
No, I had a whole thing.
You can do the...
I'll do it later.
Yeah. Maybe you can do a special one just on that.
Good question.
That's a good one. Someone will ask you a question about agile coaches.
Excellent.
So yeah, how did we get started? I guess initially, so there were a few of us who were from a dev background, and we started with a small pilot. So we walked around, we found a couple of people in the ops and the infrastructure team who were friendlies, that were interested in trying new things. I guess they were the goats on the other side of the wall. And we did a few things. This picture here is my laptop. So one of the things when we're talking about infrastructure as code, we use VMware, like the big VMware instance sort of thing, to manage all of our infrastructure. We were trying to use SCCM to stand up VMs and whatever. So I tried to build a proof of concept or a pilot so I could demonstrate it to some people and show them that it'll work, because the first thing everyone says, that won't work with our tools, that won't work in Windows or on VMware or whatever. So I set up a nested VMware ESXi host on my laptop, and then ran up a copy of Chef and multiple VMs and had this crazy demo where I could stand up infrastructure and create a Packer image and drop it into VMware and stand it up, repeatable build and all of that, to kind of debunk that it won't work in our environment. The net effect was my laptop kind of slid across the table from the fan moving so fast. But I guess as doing that, by doing that, we were able to create a little bit of goodwill with some of the ops people and infrastructure people. And then we started introducing tools, and I think probably one of the hardest parts, and Ryan will remember this, when we started talking to people about these tools, coming from a dev background, we were already used to source control and running all of these random dev tools, and Vagrant and Chef and Packer and whatever. We introduced like 30 new tools to the ops guys. Heads exploded, and there were tears. There were some very amusing moments. So yeah, this is awesome. So we started a pilot team, and we got a few of these people together. So we got a bit of buy-in from management, enough to say, can we commit some time to this? Management luckily knew that the answer was where we were headed, so that helped a lot. And there was one guy who was a very opinionated South African guy, and he's wanted to be on this team. And after a couple of iterations of working on this, he's gone, and thank you for reminding me about this, Damian. It was an awesome anecdote. He's just like, I only joined the team because it was a stupid idea and I wanted to see you guys fail. But I was wrong, and this is really awesome. And so it was a really cool moment because it was a change. But prior to that, I guess, there were a lot of people in the teams who were saying, you're trying to steal our jobs. Why are devs always pushing DevOps? It's at the front for a reason. Like, I am kind of joking. I've heard like a lot of people say, why do devs always push DevOps? And I think it's because we're more comfortable with the tooling that drives DevOps. And it's unfortunate that a lot of ops people feel that they're being imposed upon. It wasn't our intention. And so that was another one of those, like, we had to take things slow and help people learn and show them the tools and all of that sort of stuff. Some of the other awesome ones was, yeah, it's too risky and, you know, all of the excuses. So we had to...
Regulators.
Oh, and regulators, yes. So TATS is a regulated environment. Apparently, regulators won't allow you to do DevOps. Yes. Or testing or anything. Yeah, so it was just like the excuse for anyone who didn't want to do something that they didn't want to do, you can't because of regulators. Anyway, we've proved otherwise. So yeah, for the next couple of years, we ran this infrastructure as code IAC pod. We basically took a few keen people and we rotated people through this team so that they could get a bit more exposure. We brought in tools and we basically took the existing stuff, so the VMware stuff's still there. We've built an internal cloud basically, based on patterns that we've seen on external clouds. And you know, the different people, there are people who came from the ops side. There was one guy who joined the team, and I didn't realise this until like 6 months or a year later. He'd never done any scripting or very basic scripting or coding or anything like that. He joined the company and somehow got pushed straight onto this team. And it was the first time he'd done, you know, DevOps or worked in this way. Carlos, for you guys who don't realise and who know him. And he's like, this is the best thing ever. And so he taught himself how to write Node so that he could write a bot to automate some of the tasks that we were doing in this cloud. He wrote all this JavaScript code that hooks, well, not alone, but with help, mostly with Ryan's coaching help, to learn how, or he basically wrote these scripts that would automate every step so that our entire process was driven from code. So if we wanted to build a new machine type, we would define it in Chef with some little bits of JSON here and there to glue things together, check it into GitHub, then it would you know, do some automated linting on that, push it through into the VMware environment, and then people could deploy their own test systems or whatever they wanted. And I guess there's a lot of tooling there, but the biggest thing was that these teams were working together. And I guess by the time I left TATS, shortly after Damian left TATS, I think the culture had changed, and it probably didn't feel like a day-to-day for me while I was there. Like every day, it's a slog. You're always having these things of someone just trying to open up 25 RDP sessions to deploy something.
We had many walks.
Yes, we did. Damien and I used to walk to just clear our minds. And I think, yeah, day to day, but when I look back, I guess having the luxury of leaving the other day makes you reflect on what you've been doing. It definitely went a long way. So now it was, now we're in this kind of automation by default. Infrastructure as code is the default way, or at least we say that. It's mostly the default way. There are a few staunch supporters of not doing it, but there aren't many left. And then on my last day, I hopped in the lift, and who did I run into but that infrastructure engineer? And he was ranting about how crap Windows is. He's like, Windows is so shit. Linux is so much easier to automate. He just spent like the last 2 months working in AWS. I think he's now certified in AWS. He's just taken his total turn. So as well as from an organizational point of view where DevOps practices help us move faster and achieve all the things we want, it's been an awesome experience to see individuals who've just totally turned around and I guess are more employable than they were before if they wanted to. And yeah, we've automated a whole lot of stuff where VMs used to take a couple of weeks to stand up, and just recently we rolled out 30 VMs to one of our farms, and I think it took 4 hours, so that's pretty exciting. And I guess for me, some takeaways is kind of like the goats and the Sherpas thing. Unless someone who actually cares about it, like if you care about DevOps and you want to do it, if you don't do it, no one's going to. So just start harassing people, be the goat. Yeah, getting people on board is really important. I think there are a couple of times throughout this up and down journey that we had at TATS where we didn't have enough people on board, we didn't have the right people on board, and we took some slight steps backwards. I think getting top-down support is really important. We were lucky there. CIO kind of knew that we were going to do this. It was just a matter of getting her team on board. And I think, especially in larger organisations, middle management will be your problem. You need to work out how to convince the certain middle managers who will just sort of disrupt things. Even if you've got top-down support, they have a lot of power. So if you are trying to introduce DevOps, that'll be the tricky one. And yeah, I think that's about it. It's hard work, but it's worth it. And yeah, at the end, take some time to look around and see what you've achieved. Thank you.